Hey, I'm Joe, and I'm a composer and a musician.
That's why we call you the maestro. And I'm Will. I'm a literal doctor.
But don't trust this guy with your ailments.
No, I study comic books, but it still counts.
We're a couple of creative kids who host a podcast called Common Creatives.
We dig deep into filmmakers, musicians, books, and characters, really all types of artistic works and the people who make them.
We break apart the art we love to see what makes it tick.
Basically, we give you the definitive take on whatever or whoever we're discussing. All opinions are definitive and final.
So check out Common Creatives wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome to the Eleventy podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Eleventy Life. I am Matt, your host, and this is episode 99 of the Eleventy Life podcast. We have some really fun special things planned for our 100th episode, and those of you who are involved on the Eleventy Life Facebook page and on the Eleventy Life Discord already know about this, but we want you all to be involved. If you are a fan or a casual listener of the show or a fan of our band or Rock Candy in any way, we would love to have you be a part of our 100th episode. We're in the middle of putting that together right now, and we have a page on our website dedicated exactly to this kind of thing. You can go to eleventysevenisalive.com, click on the podcast tab, and submit an audio commentary. Now, this could be a favorite story that you have from a previous episode of Eleventy Life. Maybe you came to an Eleventyseven show way back in the day and want to share that experience, how weird or maybe awful or terrible it was. Maybe you heard an episode of Eleventy Life that really resonated with you in your musical or spiritual journey in some way. Hey, we want to hear about those and we want you to share them with us, and we'd love to include them in our 100th episode because we would not have made it to 100 episodes if it wasn't for amazingly kind people like you who tune into the show, who support what we do on the Rock Candy Recordings online store, who add us to your Spotify playlists, who share our music on Instagram. You all are a fantastic group of individuals, and we are better people for knowing you and for being able to share what we're doing with all of you. I know that right now the world is a little bit crazy. I have never experienced anything like this COVID-19 outbreak. We are currently in the studio right now, quarantining ourselves and trying to exit the house as little as possible. I am sure that you guys are all doing exactly the same thing. Hey, it's a really weird thing when the entire world is asking you to stay at home. I work down here in the studio most of the time, so I kind of self-quarantine anyway, just for creative purposes. I'm either mixing other people's records, producing for other people, or working on new Eleventy tunes. So this quarantine hasn't been especially difficult for me personally, but it has been very difficult to see a lot of my friends who are more extroverted, who need more time outside of the house, who thrive on that sense of community that they get from being around friends. So my heart goes out to everybody who is struggling with that at the moment. On the bright side, this is an amazing opportunity for us to get creative, to call that friend that you've been wanting to do a podcast with or that you've been wanting to write a song with. Pull out those notebooks of poems and lyrics and start writing something fun. Case in point, we had an entire tour of Japan get canceled due to the COVID outbreak. And while that really bummed us out, it also gave us a lot of this prep time that we would have normally spent for tour, doing rehearsals and things, to be able to kind of stretch our wings in other creative ways. So for instance, a couple days ago, I took one of my favorite songs called Forever Young by Alphaville. If you've ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, this is like the most famous song in the movie for the dance scene. I love everything about this song, and I just decided I was going to go down into the studio and I wasn't going to try to be productive at anything. I gave myself permission to have zero utility in what I was doing. I just wanted for the studio to feel like a sandbox and that I could sing a song that I really loved, and it wasn't for anybody, it was just for me. And so I hooked up a couple of synthesizers that I've been playing around with recently and a drum machine, and I just thought while I was playing through these different sounds and presets, I was like, why don't I just see what I can do with just these couple of synths and a drum machine? And I ended up being able to do the whole song just with this instrumentation, and also mix in a couple of Eleventy tunes in the meantime. I'm sure that you guys can head over to our Instagram if you want to see what happened, because I actually ended up filming it after I started having so much fun doing this that I was like, I really need to get this down. It was super fun. It was really cathartic. It was an awesome way of channeling some creative energy. that maybe I would have been dedicating to something a little more useful. But I feel like when we put those kinds of definitions on things, we rob ourselves of the joy of it. Like, I have to remind myself of this so often. Not everything that you do has to have a purpose. Sometimes fun is the purpose. It is its own reason in and of itself. And if you don't believe me, try living your life where everything that you do has to have a reason, has to have a purpose, has to have a utility, and watch the joy slowly drain out of your life. I don't know if that's true for everyone, but that has certainly been my experience. Here's how this got even better. So I shared this video online, and all of a sudden, my friend Alex, who's a friend and fan of the show all the way over in the UK, he even has his own 11 Life episode. He's such a rad dude. He all of a sudden just like sent me some cover art that he designed for this little throwaway cover tune that I was just going to toss on the internet and then forget about it. It was such an amazingly kind gesture. And after he sent me his first cover art, we ended up kind of collaborating and going back and forth with a few different ideas. And I don't think any of that would have happened if we hadn't have been confined to our homes, kind of scratching our heads going, how do I try and reappropriate my energies in a way that I wouldn't normally be doing? So because we're all locked up at home, we got to kind of share this really fun collaboration together, and I'm really grateful for that. So Alex, if you're listening, man, thank you so much. For everybody that is listening to the show right now, I'm going to put this song in particular and Alex's cover art up for download in the show links so that you guys can get to it. We're not going to do like a full-on release of this thing because it's not for everybody, it's for you. If you are listening to this right now and you are hearing the words coming out of my mouth, this song is for you, and you'll be one of the only people that knows where the download link is, because we're only going to put it in these podcast notes. So moving on, as we are gearing up for our 100th episode of 11 Life, I thought it would be really cool to do a pre-100th episode, sort of like a little heater episode building up to our 100th. So I went way down into the Rock Candy archives, which is literally just this closet where everything ends up that isn't useful anymore, that we're ready to forget about. And I was able to dig up some crazy old school 11 bits from back in the day. Our band has gone through so many changes over the years. I mean, we started this thing when we were 16, 17 years old, and we've been doing it for a really long time, releasing music under this name. One of the thoughts that I had about this while I have been prepping for the 100th episode is that I have no idea how to define what Eleventyseven is. We started out as this really unlikely, kind of plucky upstart of a punk rock band. And over the years, we have gone through so many different changes. Even the second record that we put out on Sony sounded completely different than the first record that we did. And we've continued to just kind of evolve and follow the weird creative voices in our heads to the point where I almost don't even recognize this band that we were way back in the early 2000s. It feels so weird and bizarre to me, that whole scene that we were a part of. And while I don't identify as being a Christian anymore, I absolutely had some of the best times of my life in this weird subculture that was the Christian rock scene at the time. So where I ended up with this thought was that maybe Eleventyseven isn't best thought of as a band, at least for me. It feels more accurate for me to think of it as just this label that I put on this really long and formative journey into adulthood. So in honor of everybody that might have been into our band way back in the day, I dug out some choice nugs. One of them is this absolutely horrific recording of a set that we played at Ichthus Festival in 2007. So for everybody that doesn't know, Ichthus used to be this like Christian rock festival out in the middle of Kentucky, and our band got invited to play it for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. This is one of the first times that we ever went to this festival, and we had a really, really good time. I don't even know where this recording came from. I literally just picked up a CD that said Eleventyseven Ichthus on it, and I put it into the computer. And it was a miracle that it even worked at all, because there are like chips and dings and little pieces of it missing. I'm not even really sure how the computer read the thing, but I was able to get a couple of little moments of us on stage when our band looked completely different. It was me and our original drummer and bass player, John Stevens, and Caleb Satterfield. world. We started this band in Caleb's parents' house in their spare room. It's crazy to think that this recording was just a few years after all of us were out of high school. The second thing that I found that I want to share in its entirety is the very first EP that we ever made. This is one of our first experiences recording. We did this whole EP in one night at this place called the Jam Room in Columbia, South Carolina, and I feel so bad for whoever was running the board that night because it is an absolute piece of shit. In this day and age, I feel like it's not common for artists to stick around. Like they have a really short lifespan, or musical projects that people endeavor in have a really quick burn time. And then normally they kind of fall away. And when we were coming up in the middle of rural South Carolina with like no scene and no way to really spread our wings, we were just imitating what we saw other bands doing on television. It was a really big deal for us to go into an actual recording studio and be able to hear our songs played back to us. Anyway, I'm going to play a couple little choice nugs from this live set at Ichthus, and I hope that it brings back as many memories for all of you as it does for me, because it's so weird to think about this being us and that was us playing those shows. So here we go. This is an excerpt from the year 2007 at a festival called Ichthus, when we were much younger, far less jaded, and far more optimistic about the world. So buckle up.
I see your sign, bro. That's awesome. Okay.
Hey guys, this water that gets thrown out, be generous with it.
I know that some of you guys are looking backstage and you're seeing our friend. He's actually a robot, and his other robot outerwear didn't come in time, so he had to dress in human clothes or whatever I'm supposed to make up for that. But anyway, I just want to introduce you to Robot. And, hey, Robot, are you really happy to be here?
Yes, of course.
Okay, sweet. Do you think that everybody at Ichthus is rocking out as hard as they can?
Of course not.
Okay, all right. That's a major issue with Robot, because Robot was programmed to injure people in mosh pits, okay? So this next song is a brand new one off of our new record called Galactic Conquest. It comes out in September the 4th. And if you don't get it, I can't promise that the Tooth Fairy is not going to come and injure you in the middle of the night. So you need to get this record. But if you don't like us, who cares? Don't even worry about it.
All right,
Okay.
Deuce, are you ready for a brand new song?
Ichthus, you're the first people to ever hear this song.
All right, you ready? One, here we go.
I've been looking for anything to point me in the right direction. Time is running out. I still haven't figured out quite how I'm gonna reach perfection. Everybody is laying down below. They're all amazingly opinionated. I know there must be something more than what the world is believing in. I was lost in a place now I want to be. Trying hard to convince my heart to believe you were there all along. I just couldn't see. There's a love in your arms that's waiting for me. Never bother with the politics. The ending never really matter at all. Stop telling me who I wanna be. Freedom means I make decisions. Everything gets so complicated. Who do I choose to believe? Religion can't be so overrated. All I know is how I free. I was lost in a place no one wants to be. Trying hard to convince my heart to believe you were there all along. Sweetness.
Is that okay? Was that okay? Did we do okay playing that song? Ah!
Okay,
That felt awful good.
how many of you guys are just getting warmed up? Sweet. I don't know if that was a really nice thing to do or a really cruel thing to do. Send someone into hyperthermic shock after being dehydrated. Okay, so in South Carolina, there's a little tradition that Eleventyseven likes to do. Maybe you were here with us last year and did this tradition. Maybe we didn't even do it, I don't remember. But it's called a hoedown. And Caleb and I are gonna demonstrate to you newcomers just how to do this hoedown. Here it goes. All right, and that's all it takes. So everybody put your hands in the air like this. Now grab hands of the person next to you. This person you have just clasped souls with is your hoedown partner, okay?
Yay!
Or just throw somebody up in the air, that's cool, okay. So we're gonna play the hoedown song, and I wanna see everybody at Ichthus doing this hoedown ASAP, capiche? All right, Ichthus! Everybody, it's time for the Ichthus 07 really quick because we don't have much time left. Everybody turn around and look that way. Grab someone who definitely did not hoe down and bring them to the very front ASAP. Now, hurry, 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 hurry. Grab everybody back there who's sitting down on the grass and doesn't want to get up because they don't think hoe downing is fun. All right? Can we do it one more time, Ichthus? All right. Hey, you guys over there in the corner? I want to see the hoedown, okay? What's wrong with you people? Here it comes again! Round 2, hold up! This one goes out to you because I absolutely love you guys. Tell me all about yourself. Tell me all about your favorite band. How they're super into your love boy. Tell me all about your favorite hobbies. The way you love sunsets, but who doesn't? Quiet, please. Show.
Yay!
Man, listening to that brought back so many amazing memories that I feel like I really need to be reminded of. So much of our life at that time was feeling super overwhelmed because we were road dogging it so hardcore, like probably around 300 dates a year. And the most important thing in our lives was trying to make this band work because we were afraid that if we didn't, we would have to go back to server jobs at this restaurant in Lawrence County called The Clock. And our whole life was that band and making it work. Being able to get up on stage and play those shows, as stupid and as awful as a lot of them were, was like one of the biggest sources of joy for me in my existence here on planet Earth, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, all of our relationships with each other look very, very different now, and when I hear that recording, it reminds me of this really specific time where it was me and Jonathan and Caleb, and things weren't complicated, and we weren't overthinking it, and we were just goofing off and having fun together, and I love those memories. I think most of all, that recording made me miss how easy it was to have fun in that period of my life, and it wouldn't have happened without Jonathan and Caleb. So yeah, I really missed that time in our friendship and in the world. It's one of those things where the older that you get, the more you realize there's absolutely no way that you could ever go back and recreate what was happening there. And for me, it feels like a really, really important cautionary tale about enjoying the moment while you have it, about enjoying your circumstances, no matter how weird and stressful they might seem. There is fun and joy hiding in every single thing, moment, place, person around you. And it is an absolute shame to overthink it. Hearing that recording encourages me to continue to try to notice those moments when they're happening, to be present and experience my friendships to the fullest, to experience these shows that we do to the fullest, to experience the creative process of songwriting and making records and sharing my thoughts with the world. I know that at this point in the history of the world, at least for the next few months, it's really important that we isolate ourselves from each other. But I just want to encourage everybody to please not isolate yourself from reality, from being here, from being present with the people that you love. Don't be afraid to lean into the things that grow your imagination now, because there will be points in your life where there aren't that many of them, where joy is harder to find, where peace feels harder to find. And you will want these memories and these moments to remind you that everything cycles back around, that nothing is gone forever. Okay, anyway, I'm going to listen back to myself say all those things, and I'm going to think that it's like the cheesiest thing I've ever done. So the very last thing I want to leave you guys with on this episode is hella embarrassing, and I'm not really sure why I'm doing this. I think in this day and age, we become really self-conscious so quickly, and when we were growing up, it was like everything that you were doing wasn't being cataloged and wasn't being recorded and wasn't being so easily accessible like it is now. People get to go online and delete all of the things that are embarrassing for them. And so we kind of rewrite our history as it's happening. And we're constantly modifying this image of ourselves that we're projecting out there because we want control over what people think about us, over how they perceive us. We want to be perceived as our best selves. And the weird thing about this is we know that we're all fucked up. We know that we all have these different issues, that all of us have our own neuroses that we're struggling with. For most people, life feels like this constant battle of just trying to get your shit together. I understand. I also have come to this realization that oftentimes it is healthier for me to look back and share the things that I'm really embarrassed of, because it reminds me of who I was and how I've grown since then. I mean, in this day and age, you kind of get crucified online for having opinions or thoughts or feelings that don't age well culturally. And I think it's really important to go back and look at those things and understand why they look different now in this day and age, why things that happened in your teen years aren't acceptable anymore. Or I see the world and I see my own creativity, my own spirituality, my own reality very differently now than I did whenever this recording was made. But when I listen to this recording, as embarrassing as it is, it reminds me that nothing happens overnight. To be able to be the musician that I want to be or the songwriter that I want to be, I have to go through all of this other embarrassing shit, just like everybody else has to go through. This is why when people send me demos demos to listen to, I always try to find something really positive to say about it, because a lot of times it's not about the demo being good or not, or your song being good or not, or me liking your song. It's more about you going through the process of writing 100 songs that you're not happy with to develop that skill set and develop those creative muscles to be able to write the song that you're happy with later. So anyway, I love being reminded of this particular part of our journey where we knew nothing about recording. I'm pretty sure that this was recorded to tape, so there was no editing that was going to be done on it. This is just exactly how bad we sounded in the room at the time. I guess you could call this our year one. This particular recording session set us on a trajectory that ultimately allowed us to live literally every dream that we had at that time in our lives. We got to tour the world. We got to go to Japan. We got to go to Europe. We got to play all of these different festivals and shows and meet so many amazing, beautiful people. And it all started with these really, really awful songs that we recorded at the studio in Colombia. And mad props to our old bass player, Caleb. His parents foot the bill for all of this, and I don't remember how much it was, but at the time, recording was really expensive, and I just remember feeling so grateful to them that they foot the bill for us to do this, because me and Jonathan's parents did not care that we were doing this and would rather have seen us be doing something else with our time and our creativity. So anyway, I'm gonna drop this EP in here in its entirety. Please don't feel like you have to listen to the whole thing, or really any of it, if you want to save your ears from that. But yeah, because we're never going to put this out or release it in any way. It's just going to live right here in this podcast for anybody that wants to listen to something and say, well, at least I'm not that bad. Thank you guys so much for being here with us on this episode of Eleventy Life. I hope that you are able to find some chuckles in this music. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you all on our next episode, which will be the 100th episode of Eleventy Life. I will see y'all then.
Plan to do when you remember how your eyes glow each time that you would smile, and I can't help but think of summer nights. We would walk along the beach, you always seemed so out of reach, but still I'd hold you in my arms. And I remember all those stars, we would stand and count for hours, but there was only one for you and me. And I recall just how best to go our separate ways.